conversation between the 150, 180, however many students there are here. That's not going to happen. But the chance for detailed discussion in the discussion section, I mean, that's where that should happen. But still, there is a chance for brief reactions and definitely a chance for questions, and I very much want to invite you to do that. So if at any point you've got something you want to ask about or some 2 bits you want to add, raise your hand, wiggle it around, make sure I see you. I may want to finish the particular point that I'm making, but I'll try to come back to you, and I'll then raise your question, and if I remember at least, I will repeat the question out loud so that everybody can hear it. I also want to say that I will try to have the practice of, after class ends, if you want to continue the discussion, you have some questions that occurred to you towards the end, we didn't have a chance to share them with the class as a whole, I will, on a normal day, meet outside and continue to talk with however many of you want to do that until you're done. So, I just love talking about this stuff. So I welcome you to come to my office hours. I invite you to ask questions in class, or if you prefer, after class as well. And again, any questions about any of that? Yeah? When are my office hours? That's a great question, and I don't know the answer to it. I haven't planned them yet. On Thursday, start the class by asking me that, and I'll give you an answer. All right. Other bits of business. I should say something about grades. Now, many of you may have heard, many of you may know, and if you don't already know this, I should warn you that I have a reputation around Yale as being a harsh grader. I know this is true. That is, I know I have the reputation, both because I periodically in my student evaluations get told I'm one of Yale's harder graders, and because every now and then the Yale Daily News will have an article about grade inflation, and they'll always ask me, well, Professor Kagan is somebody. Once there was a story on grade inflation that the Yale Daily News began by saying, as Shelly Kagan, parentheses, known at Yale as one of the hardest graders, close parentheses. So I know I've got at least the reputation of being a hard grader. I don't actually know whether it's deserved or not, because Yale does not publish information about what the grading averages are. At other schools I've taught at, there's been information along the lines of, well, the typical grade in an introductory course in the humanities is such and such. Shortly after I came here to Yale, and I started realizing that people thought I was a harder grader than most other Yale professors, I called the administration and asked, do you have this sort of information? And the answer is yes. Will you give it to me? The answer was no. They don't share this information with the Yale faculty. Seems odd. The explanation, of course, actually isn't that hard to come by. The worry is that those of us who are harder graders than average, if the information were published, would feel guilty and sort of ease up on our grading. But those who are easier graders than average will never feel guilty and toughen up. And so the result would be a constant push up with the grades. Anyway, so I don't know for a certainty that I'm a harder grader, but I believe that it's the case based on reactions I get when I give the speech that I'm about to give. Okay, so when I open the blue book, the Yale guideline, the Yale catalog, it's got a page, as you all know, where it says what grades, what letter grades mean at Yale. I didn't actually bring it this year. Sometimes I do, but I've got it pretty much memorized. It says, for example, next to each letter grade, what it means. B, for example, means good. A means excellent. C means satisfactory. Right? D is passing. F is failing. B, let's start with B. B means good. Now, the crucial question then is, what does good mean? I take good to mean good. Consequently, if you were to write a good paper for me, that would get a B. And when you get a B from me, now I say me, this is the royal me, because I won't actually be grading your papers. Your papers will be graded by a small army of TAs. But they will grade under my supervision and in keeping with the standards that I ask them to grade with. So when you're pissed off about your grades, the person to take it up with take it up with them. But eventually you'll want to take it up with me. So when you get a B from us, B doesn't mean, what a piece of crap. B means, good job. And so you should be pleased to get a B, because it meant you were doing good work, and it's not easy to do good work in philosophy. A means excellent. Now, excellent does not mean publishable. Excellent does not mean you are God's gift to philosophy. Right? And so it's crucial to understand it doesn't mean that the only way you're going to get an A is to be God's gift to philosophy. A's mean excellent work for a first class in philosophy. This is an introductory class. It does not presuppose any background in philosophy. Still, to get an A, you've got to show some flair for the subject. You've got to show, not only have you sort of understood the ideas that have been put forward in the readings and in the lectures and so forth, but you see how to sort of put them together into paper in a way that shows you've got some aptitude here. You did it in a way that made us take note. That's what we try to reserve A's for. Some of you will end up getting A's, if not at the beginning, by the end of the semester. Many of you will end up getting B's, if not at the beginning, by the end of the semester. Many of you will not start out doing good work. Many of you will start out doing satisfactory work, or, truth be told, less than satisfactory work. Now look, I was an undergraduate once, and I know what it is to write a typical undergraduate paper. You sit down the night before, and you had a couple of ideas. You thought about it maybe for a half an hour, and you meant to get to it sooner, but you had a lot of other things to do, and you throw it off in a couple of hours, and maybe you stay up late, and it's not the worst thing you ever wrote, and it's not the best thing you ever wrote, and it has a couple of nice ideas, but maybe it could be better. It's sort of a satisfactory job. Well, Yale says satisfactory means C. And so, many of you will start off the semester writing that kind of paper. And the fact of the matter is, some of you will start off writing worse papers than that. Because writing a philosophy paper is a difficult thing to learn how to do. It's exercising a set of muscles that a lot of you have not spent a lot of time exercising. Now, it's not as though you haven't spent any time doing it. I mean, you've had bull sessions, right, with your high school friends or in your college dorm or what have you, but you haven't done it with the kind of discipline and rigor that we're looking for here. And so, like anything else, it's a skill that gets better with practice. But what that means, of course, is you won't do as well at the beginning as you're likely to be doing toward the end. Some of you, unfortunately, won't do very good jobs at the beginning, and my TAs, I'll encourage them to be prepared to give, D's if the vices of the paper significantly outweigh the virtues. That's a D. If the vices very significantly outweigh whatever virtues there are, that's some kind of an F. So the fact of the matter is, many of you in your initial papers will get lower grades than you've probably ever gotten before in your life. Wanted to warn you about that. Now, I say this not so much to depress the hell out of you, but A, partly to warn you, and B, to make it clear that I believe that it's a skill. Writing a good philosophy paper is a skill, and you can get better at it. And consequently, most of you will get better at it.